Yo, 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 what is up, my fallopian tubers? Cesario Fondavario coming back at you with another video for your butt. And I'm making a video response for SFI SportsCards. You want to know your favorite decade of baseball? Mine is the 80s because that's what I watched and that's what I know. Like Bob Boone, I have a lot of Phillies fans that say like, "Oh man, that's cool that you have Bob Boone on your spine of your binder for 1980." Well, when we used to go to the Angels games when I was a kid, Captain Caveman would come up like to that little black and white screen that they used to have back then. Every time Bob Boone came up to bat, and the whole crowd would scream, "Bob Boone!" Man, that's like an extreme memory that I have as a child. Awesome. So that's why I have him there. 81 tops. Ozzie Smith, the Wizard. Known for his backflip a lot, but I give him so much credit for his defense because back then, the way fields were maintained, there was tons of bad hops, and he made great plays off those bad hops. But he's also known for his backflip, which he did because he was a gymnast and had a gymnastics team from his old high school or something there to watch the game, so that's why he did the backflip. Then after that, the club asked him, "Hey, you should do that a couple more times." It was a fan favorite. Fernando Valenzuela. What can you say about Fernando Mania? Fernando. Frank Viola. This is actual autograph, so he took over that. He also had one of the few mustaches back in the days. Wade Boggs. One of my favorite players just growing up, period. Also Dwight Gooden. Man, Dwight Gooden was the Bombers. So was Willie McGee back then. Barry Larkin. And Oral Hershiser has to be in your 88 no matter what. He had like one of the greatest greatest just stints that any pitcher has ever had. During 88. And at 89, I have Wally Joyner. A lot of my top favorite players, man, the 80s. That's when I grew up watching baseball. So that's why it's one of my favorite decades, because I actually watched it. All right, and at that time, my favorite player was Darryl Strawberry. All right, but this is a contest. This is my actual childhood binder. I mean, look at this thing. But he wanted you to put your favorite decade of baseball and put a Hall of Famer and a non-Hall of Famer. All right. So here we go. My three favorite players back in the day was Darryl Strawberry, Wade Boggs, and Don Mattingly. All right, SFI SportsCards. Okay, so Wade Boggs was one out of three that made that Hall of Fame. So he was my favorite Hall of Famer that I grew up watching, or at least admiring, like big time. Like I said, he was my number 2 player, and number 1 was Darryl Strawberry. So I'm trying to it's hard to do this with one hand, but Darryl Strawberry was my favorite player at the time. I really thought he was going to be the first 40-40 man. In 1987, I think he had like 39 home runs and 36 stolen bases. So the 40-40 club is 40 stolen bases and 40 home runs. Something that, back then people would say like, it will never be done. It just can't. It's impossible. You can't have speed and power at the same time. That was the myth back then. And Darryl Strawberry was just coming close to it. You know what I mean? But he never accomplished it. And then Jose Canseco came and just broke that. But my other favorite player, number 3, which at the time probably as a kid would have been my number 1, was Don Mattingly. But because I was petty, there was a interview where Don Mattingly got interviewed and they asked him about Lou Gehrig. Compared him to Lou Gehrig, and he said he had never heard of Lou Gehrig. He didn't know who Lou Gehrig was. So he lost a lot of points. And you know, and I moved him to number 3. He was actually my number 1 player. So Darryl Strawberry took his place over in my heart. You know, that's a trip, but that's reality. I'm just telling you what happened when I was a kid. All right. My number 1 player was Don Mattingly, and after he didn't know who the hell Lou Gehrig was, never heard of him. That dropped him a few points. Darryl Strawberry became my favorite player. Wade Boggs was my number 2, and Don Mattingly was my number 3. So there's my Hall of Famer, Wade Boggs, and my 2 non-Hall of Famers, Darryl Strawberry and Don Mattingly. But I'm not going to show a card of them. But, man, I just want to, I don't know, give recognition to one of my favorite moments of the 80s, just of the 80s period, was during the 1988 playoffs. You know, Mickey Hatcher. Man, Mickey Hatcher was just your average player, you know, back then. But during the playoffs, I'm trying to actually get this. Man, he really lit it up. He hit 1 home run in the whole season. And in the World Series, he hit 2 home runs. He hit a home run in Game 1 to keep us in the game, which made it possible for Kirk Gibson to do his thing. You know, he hit like a big-time double. He hit another home run, which doubled his home. I mean, Mickey Hatcher. Oh, man. The whole 88 run was just spectacular, especially at the end with Orel Hershiser doing his thing. We played the Mets, who were like the best team in the National League. And then we had to play the Yankees. The A's, who were the best team in baseball, period. And to beat them both. Man, the whole thing was just a man. I think I had like 13 mini heart attacks back then during that playoff run. But, yeah. Man, that was awesome. That was just an awesome time. That was like the most stressful time probably in my lifetime. Even though I was only like 15 or something like that. That whole thing was badass. We were so underdogged. Even I didn't think we were gonna win it, and we did. For us to beat the Mets, for us to beat the A's was just incredible. It really was. It really, really was. That's like probably some of the best memories that I have from the 80s baseball. And I think Mickey Hatcher, honestly, I just want to say that Mickey Hatcher deserves so much credit that he never got for that. Alright, but love the hobby, people. Just keep collecting baseball cards forever, I say. Ciao! SFI SportsCards. Yeah, and I think this response is late, so it probably doesn't count, but oh well. Ciao!